I guess one of the questions I've always had is, what were the first things you guys ever heard about gay people when you were growing up, or what was the buzz about gay people in your culture growing up when you were younger?
Interesting. I grew up in a small village. Conversation never came up. I've never heard of it until I moved to Toronto, and probably then it was only through the Gay Pride Parade and things like that. But the first time I had a personal experience, I suppose, with Irene's friend,
Huey?
Huey.
Your roommate?
Yeah. So, and I grew up in Scotland, and we didn't talk about gay people per se. However, there were a lot of British actors. There was always a lot of drag. There was always a lot of camp. And it was actually very acceptable.
Well, I guess my introduction to drag was through Monty Python skits, which I didn't even associate with gay because it was just...
That was
exactly.
British. It was Monty Python.
Exactly. And growing up in Britain, Boy Scouts, Boy Scouts Jamboree, the Boy Scouts always put on shows. And half the Scouts were in drag.
Yeah.
Because they played the part of the women.
Yeah.
So I know that's not gay culture, but I think we were exposed to all of that without actually talking about homosexuality.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it wasn't a stretch as I became aware that some people were gay to accept that some people were gay.
Now, Huey was your roommate.
He was,
but he
yes.
wasn't out when you first met him.
No. Huey was single and then had what we termed an early Canadian marriage. He married someone, and it lasted a couple of years, and it didn't work out. But Huey didn't come out until 1979.
How did he come out to you? Just curious.
He came out to me in a phone call.
Okay.
Told me he was gay, and it was a little bit of a surprise in that I had known him almost 10 years. And I'd seen him through a marriage, I'd seen him dating girls. He and I never dated, but we were the person we went out with on a Saturday night if neither one of us had a date. And of course he knew your dad, and we hung out together quite a bit. My dad had years before that picked up that Huey was gay, but it had never struck me, and I think I told you that story.
Yeah, see, I like that. It's cute though.
My mum and dad were visiting me, and Huey was at the apartment. We were getting dressed to go out, and I was running around scantily dressed, and my mother said, "I don't think you should be dressed like that in front of Huey," and my dad said, "I don't think we need to bother. I don't think we need to worry," is what he said. And I think looking back on it, that, you know, as most of us, when you reach a certain age, you realize you've met a lot of people, and that my dad wasn't shocked by the people he met. And I think he saw in Huey that Huey's eyes weren't following women. I think Huey tried very hard in dating people, and but I wasn't shocked that he was gay. We met some of his boyfriends, and we met a lot of his friends back then. Unfortunately, we lost Huey kind of when he got sick.
Yeah.
He didn't want to see us anymore. He didn't want us to see him.
Well, I remember hearing you talk to Charles Miller, our minister, about that when I was in grade 3 or so.
Yeah. I really wanted to see Hugh. I knew he was very ill, and I wanted to see him, and Hugh did not want to see anyone at the time. And he said, "I don't want you to see me this way."
Yeah.
And I did. I spoke to the minister and said, "You know, I really think I'd like to see him." And he said, "You're thinking about what you want. You have to think about what he wants." And so I did. But what it meant was we lost touch with not just Huey, but any of the people that would have been in his life.
Yeah.
Were gone. And at this point, I don't even remember names of anybody. But again, they may not be people who are still around.
How did you guys find out that he died?
I think it was quite a bit after the fact. We weren't notified when
What?
he died.
Yeah.
He was being looked after actually by a relative,
Okay.
which was very nice. He had a relative, an older fellow who also had been gay, was gay, and he looked after Huey to the end. And I don't think any of us were directly notified at the time. I think it was just after the fact. Word trickled down that, oh no, he had died. That was sad.
I remember him being in the living room with you guys and just having a laugh. He had a big laugh. I remember hearing
Yes,
that.
he did.
But to me, he seemed like this big person.
Yeah, he for a Brit, he was probably
Yeah, right.
he probably seemed tall. He was just a good friend. He was just a good friend. Unfortunately, came out at a time when it wasn't really safe.
Yeah.
Mm.